Hello, coming to you from the magnetic land of board gaming, Omaha, Nebraska. Welcome to the Out of the Dust podcast. I'm your host, Attractive Bryce Journey. Tied into the popular recurring Out of the Dust geek list on Board Game Geek, the Out of the Dust podcast is a weekly podcast that is focused on re-exploring games we played that we hadn't previously played in a year or more. Why did the game get dusty? Why did you decide to dust it off? How does the game compare to how you remembered it? Are you more likely to play it more often in the future? These are the questions that we're interested in examining on Out of the Dust. This week on the podcast, episode 30. On the Out of the Dust segment, I'll bring Temporum out of the dust, and a contributor will dust off Finca, Spartacus, and Loopin Chewie. On the reaction segment, I'll give my thoughts of the recently announced new edition of Castles of Burgundy. On the What I've Been Playing segment, I'll review Carpe Diem. On the obscure Bryce games segment, I review Nefertiti. And we wrap up the episode by reviewing my top 10 games that stood the test of time of 2018. I had a chance to bring Temporum out of the dust recently, which I last played 4 years, 1 month, and 6 days ago. Published by Rio Grande in 2014 and designed by Donald X. Vaccarino of Dominion and Kingdom Builder fame, it's far from Donald X's best game, but the theme is fun and the experience is a satisfying efficiency puzzle. It was never a part of my collection until Christmas, which is why it got dusty. But I got a good deal on the base game and expansion on Black Friday, so I finally made a spot for it. I can see this getting more regular play in the near future. I'm thinking of introducing some house rules to solve a couple of minor issues I have with the game. Getting automatically sucked onto the main timeline when another player alters it is annoying sometimes, and I think it would be fun to just let players gallivant in the alternate zones as long as they want. Let's see what a contributor brought out of the dust. Murray Fish, username MuzzFish4, brought a trio of fun games out of the dust this month. First up is Finca, a 2009 Rio Grande game by designers Wolfgang Sinker and Ralph Zurlind, who also designed the popular Animals on Board together. Murray last played it 6 years, 7 months, and 8 days ago and currently rates it an 8 out of 10. He writes, "After losing access to Finca for the last few years when a friend who owned it moved away, I backed the recent-ish Finca Kickstarter as a Christmas present for Mrs. Fish. She was very happy to receive it, and I can see it getting regular use. We have played 2 games today with the family." Next up is the game that put publisher Gale Force 9 on the map, Spartacus, a game of blood and treachery, which was published in 2012 and designed by Aaron Dill, John Kowaleski, and Sean Swigert. Murray last played it 2 years, 5 months, and 7 days ago, and currently rates it an 8 out of 10 as well. He writes, "It was good to play Spartacus, a game of blood and treachery again. Quite a fun game and one I am happy to have remain in the collection. Funny story, originally we were going to play Here I Stand, but one of my group managed to break his wrist falling off a unicycle. Yes, really. So we were down to 5. Still, my second run at Spartacus, a game of blood and treachery, was good despite it ending with the most unsatisfying gladiatorial combat ever, as, due to numerous cards, 4 slaves duked it out in a long combat." Last up is Loopin Chewie, the popular Star Wars re-implementation of Loopin Louie, a family dexterity game which Murray currently rates a 7.9 out of 10. He writes, "Last weekend gone was CCon, our largest local convention. It was super hot, around 42 or 44 degrees on the Saturday, and the convention was pretty pungent. But despite this, Little Fish the Elder and I braved the heat and crowds to spend too much on stuff we don't need. Little Fish the Elder found a new copy of Loopin Chewie for $15, which we grabbed. Mrs. Fish was unimpressed, but now our 3 and 4 player Loopin needs are fully addressed. We already own a copy of Loopin Louie, and neither will ever get dusty again." Thanks for the contributions, Murray. All 3 of these games are happily part of my own collection as well, though I'll need to blow some dust off Spartacus myself the next time I pull that one off the shelf. Reaction segment time. I've always said that I would drop any amount of money for a deluxe edition of Castles of Burgundy. Except for Gone Sean Clever, it's my most played game of all time and one of my perfect 10 rated games. Well, in honor of its 20th anniversary, publisher Aaliyah has announced a new edition of Castles of Burgundy. Whether this is a true deluxe edition with upgraded components remains to be seen, because there have been no component pictures released yet and very little firm information overall, which includes an MSRP, which might otherwise have shed some light on this question. We do know the new edition will have new artwork, and it comes in a fancy-looking box. But the most exciting thing that we know for sure at this point is that the new edition will include all 10 current expansions, and that's genuinely exciting news, because some of those are pretty tough to get. I'm a fanatic for the game, and I only have 4 of them, and some poorly done print copies of a couple of others. I think Castles of Burgundy is a perfect game all by itself, but the expansions really do make it even more perfect. The new board and tile expansions are all easy adds to the base game and increase the replayability of the game even more than that which already exists. There's also going to be a brand new expansion included in the box which no one currently knows anything about. Getting all the expansions at once is going to personally tip this new edition into instant buy status for me, even if we later learn a component upgrade isn't going to be part of the package. Of course, everyone is hoping those tiles get a little thicker at least. I rarely upgrade my old editions of games into new ones, but this is going to be an easy exception for me. This year started out in the most wonderful way, a Feldian way. Not only have I gotten to learn Forum Trajanum, which I told you about last episode, but I also got to learn Carpe Diem, which I'm going to tell you about this week. Carpe Diem is Stefan Feld's other new game, this one a Ravensburger publication. Carpe Diem is Stefan Feld's take on a tile-laying game. Here's how it works. Players are rich patricians in ancient Rome trying to build up the most successful district. Their success measured, of course, by a plethora of victory points. This district is represented by a 6x6 grid player board. Players acquire the tiles to fill up this grid from a central board composed of 7 areas arranged in a circle that hold up to 4 tiles each. Each area connects to 2 other areas across from them in the circle, and each turn a player follows this connection to a different area, selects 1 tile from it, and adds it to their board. The tiles are a mixture of pieces of buildings and landscape areas of many different types. When the pieces have been assembled into complete buildings or landscape areas, players earn resources or a bonus of some kind. These resources and bonuses are spent in buildings and landscape areas spotted during the scoring phase to earn points. Dealing with the tile-laying restrictions is engaging stuff all by itself, but the really innovative part of this game, the thing that really makes it stand out, is the scoring mechanism. Each game, a certain number of scoring cards are dealt out in a pattern of rows and columns. Each of these scoring cards has a different objective on it, and a different number of points the card is worth if the objective is met. These objectives either score points for having certain kinds of landscapes or buildings in the display, or for trading in certain combinations of resources. At the end of each of the 4 rounds, players take turns placing one of their scoring discs between 2 of these scoring cards, and either scoring points for them or losing points if they can't meet the objective. I'm really impressed with this particular mechanism, and it adds a whole other layer of strategy in regards to moving up on the turn order track and building up a bank of resources and tiles to satisfy as many objectives as possible. For now, I'm playing both Carpe Diem and Forum Trajanum an equal number of times, but this scoring mechanism is something that might ultimately raise Carpe Diem a little higher than its cousin in my overall esteem. Obscure Bryce Game segment time. This week I'm going to tell you about a joint Rio Grande and Madigo published game called Nefertiti by designer trio Jacques Berriot, Thomas Coe, and Guillaume Montiage. Jacques and Guillaume would go on to design the acclaimed Kemet, while Thomas would go on to design several of the Unlock games. So these designers' later efforts have gone on to have more success, but Nefertiti, though it has fallen into relative obscurity since its publication in 2008, remains just outside the top 1,000 on Board Game Geek, which is certainly worthy of continued notice, because this remains a very unique auction and set collection game. Here's how it works. Players take turns placing a servant to one of the open markets on the board, and one of the bid spaces of the market. Each market has its own unique close condition, and when a certain combination, quantity, or combined value of servants is present in the market, and it does close, players have the opportunity to either purchase one of the gift cards in the market for the amount of their bid, which is paid to the market tile, or decline the opportunity and take half the coins in the market tile instead, thus increasing their ability to purchase gifts elsewhere. Each type of gift has a different rarity in the frequency it appears in the gift deck, and players must carefully try to manipulate which markets they win bids in when and for how much. The game features a closed economy and funds only ever change hands, which adds another layer of planning to the game. There's also a display of character cards that players can activate the special abilities of if they earn tokens from certain gift purchases. The game ends when the market deck runs out, and the player with the most valuable collection of gifts for Nefertiti wins the game. This is one of those classic Euro games where timing is so important and pivotal, which is what I really like about the game. There was a visitor from out of town at Spielbound last weekend who had a list of games he was hoping to learn and play while at the board game cafe, and this actually happened to be on his list. I was surprised and delighted to see it there and suggested we play it because it's the sort of obscure game he might not have the chance to encounter easily elsewhere. The game was a huge hit with everyone who played it, and I think it might get played more often at the cafe now. I don't get to play it often myself because of its 3-player minimum player count, and it's one of those games that is best at exactly 4, which limits its play opportunities. This was an out-of-the-dust play for me, and it will probably get dusty again before the right opportunity falls into my lap once more. This week I'm going to count down my top 10 games that stood the test of time in 2018. These are the games that I first learned in 2017 that continue to get the most play and that I continue to enjoy the most in 2018. Number 10, Jorvik. It might just be a re-implementation of the Speicherstadt, but it's a re-implementation with that delightful hard-to-get Kreisspeicher expansion, and it remains one of the most innovative and unique auction games out there. And it feels different and works well at all player counts. Number 9, Can't Stop Express. I learned this at Origins 2017, finally got around to assembling my own copy in 2018, and played it a bunch with my wife as a quality diversion from our more played Ganshan Clever. Number 8, At the Gates of Loyang. I wasn't sure about this one at first, but it's grown on me as I've started to figure out some of the nuances of the game. I've learned I prefer it at 2 players, though. The weird partner thing of the higher player counts doesn't work for me. Number 7, Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu, and Pandemic Iberia. I learned both these games in 2017, played them both regularly in 2018, but still can't decide which one I like better. I appreciate how Pandemic has made their core system feel different, yet still addicting, regardless the implementation it is put in, though. I like the rail-building element of Iberia a lot, and I like the sanity element of Cthulhu a lot. Number 6, Codenames Duet. My wife and I continue to have a fun time continuing to beat our heads against the campaign track we have taken. Maybe 2019 will finally be the year we complete it. Number 5, The Dresden Files. One of my surprise hits from 2017 continued to get a lot of love from my wife and I in 2018. Each of the characters feels different, and the way the puzzles unfold brings a lot of replayability to this game. Number 4, Word Slam. I was very excited when my wife won a copy of this at PretzCon 2018. It's become one of our go-to party games, and I like it even more than concept. Number 3, Spirit Island. I acquired my own set of this last year and introduced it to my wife. I'm a backer for the new expansion, but there's still so much content to explore in this game until that ships. Good thing it will be a while yet before that happens. Number 2, Dinosaur Island. I played this regularly throughout the year, and then even more once Totally Liquid shipped. It's great fun, and I expect to be enjoying this for years to come. Number 1, Oh My Goods. I was fortunate enough to get both expansions for this game before Mayfair's extinction. I played through Longsdale in 2017, and played through all of Canyon Brook in 2018. It's an amazing system that continues to impress me with how much game comes packed in that tiny little box. Well, that will do it for episode 30. Thanks for